Hey, it's Chris from The Chris Stefanick Show, where we dive into how to live a more joyful life every day in your everyday life, the kind of life that God dreams of for you. Check it out. You work with a lot of successful people. Like, what percentage of successful, like, top 50 entrepreneurs in America are driven by fundamental wounds that got them that successful?
I would say roughly 100.
About all of them.
Yeah, and I work with these CEOs, these really rich people and successful people, and I've met athletes and coaches and famous people, and they're not that happy. And so I became a best-selling author. I had 10 books, and I would go places and be treated really well, and I had a wonderful wife, Laura. She's fantastic, and my children, and I was making more money and all this stuff, and I was like, I'm not happy. I'm not content. I'm not peaceful. And I remember I met Mike Singletary, who was a player for the Chicago Bears and the coach of the 49ers and stuff. And they asked him once, why do you wear a cross? Because he wore a cross. He goes, oh, because when our team won the Super Bowl, I decided to start wearing a cross. They said, because you were grateful? He goes, no, because I was so empty. I realized if winning the Super Bowl doesn't make me happy, then I'm missing something. And I won the Super Bowl of life. You know, I had these books and I was well known and successful and had everything. And I was like,
why? I just got chills when you said
I was empty.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I was at church one day and I said, God, I want to be successful in your eyes. I want to live for you. And it was this parable of the sower, like the seed that fell on the path, it didn't grow. The seed that fell next to the path didn't grow. The seed that fell among the thorns, it grew up, got choked off by the cares of the world. And I was like, that's me, the cares of the world. Wow, I made it to level 3.
Yeah.
But level 4 is where I need to be, where I grow and produce 100-fold.
Wow.
And I was like, God, I'm not there. Please get me there. And he said, do you know what that's going to take? I felt him say that. He said, you're going to suffer. And I was like, where else can I go? And so I entered a dark night of the soul where he stripped away all of my joy.
How did that happen?
You know, he didn't allow me to cheat on my wife or take drugs or drink or gamble. But he said, I'm going to strip you down to where nothing that you've valued in your life to this point will have any impact. And I was absolutely devastated, and I didn't know why. And it was in that moment that I was completely dependent on him. And it was the most awful, painful, wonderful, important thing I could ever go through. And that must have been about 12 years ago.
I remember you sharing an experience where you had spoken before a crowd that included past presidents of the United States. And was it that moment that was like the lowest?
This preceded it.
Yeah.
So I was at Radio City Music Hall speaking at this conference with presidents and all these famous people, and they were I got really high mark. They were applauding me, and I walked off stage, and there's a little door that goes right outside. So I walked off stage and just walked right out onto the street, and stumbled down to St. Patrick's Cathedral and got on my knees and cried and said, "Okay, God, I have nothing. This isn't doing it for me." A group of people being famous, being well-known, being successful. And God was like, I know, that's never going to satisfy you.
There are those who hit rock bottom because they mess up and they find themselves at the bottom in the darkness. And then there are those who go to the top and look down and see the same darkness, right? That was you, because you got it all. It's like, it's not enough.
Right.
I'm made for something more.
Yeah.
And I love how you said you didn't go into all these other things that can medicate that emptiness, right? That emptiness from our human condition, from our childhood wounds. I love there's a line in Matrix where Morpheus says to Neo, welcome to the desert of the real.
Yeah.
There's like all the garbage stripped away, but there's pain, but it's real. I could go into a virtual world instead and spend my life there. No, let's go into the real.
Yeah.
So praise God, you pushed through and didn't keep medicating with more and more
achievement.
That
was my medication.
The fulfillment. Wow.
Worldly achievement.
So how do you rebuild when you find yourself there and realize that this isn't enough? How did you rebuild?
You realize that the only peace that there is through Jesus, and you stay close to him. I was at Mass today, and I was saying that Jesus, let me stay close to you.
It was literally an experience of prayer that from that moment that rebuilt you.
Absolutely. And what happens is then you start to feel better, and the evil one goes, see, now you're feeling better. You can indulge in that other stuff. Because people would say to me, Pat, it must be great to be well-known and successful. And it'd be like, no, not without God. And if I had none of that, but I had God, I would be the luckiest man in the world. If I have all of that and not God, I am empty.
Did you like that clip? Be sure to click subscribe so you never miss out on our great content that's going to help you live life to the full.